Okay, welcome everyone to Healing the Money Wound free class, a journey from seeing power as outside of yourself and journeying inward to see all that you are inwardly. And I am really excited. I am also feeling tender and nervous because I feel like this is such an important topic for so many. And I also feel that it's so important for so many. And I want to be clear from the get-go that anything I propose today in the class is to the best of my ability, the most aligned choices that I've seen work. But that does not mean in any way that there isn't another way to do this, and that this takes time. I really do struggle with the I do believe that spontaneous healing does exist, but I have a hard time with that for so many reasons, and mostly because we live in a time-space continuum, and to make real lasting change really happen for us, and to shift out of old modes of doing and being, really, it's hard work. It can be really painful and it can be really tender. And I want to say that up front because I in no way want to, and I've done this in the past where I've offered this class and I felt like maybe I skipped over this part and saying, like, this is a really tender wound for a lot of people. And it's not actually only just the money part, it's really what's underneath. It's really what's underneath that is so tender. And so I really hope that today's class will create a compassionate healing space for all of us, those that are here, present, fully embodied here today, and also for those that will receive the recording and the transmission of these teachings. This is something for me that I've integrated over at least 17 years of my practice. And so this was not in any way a quick fix. This wasn't like I saw some money guru and they gave me a Shakti pat on the head and I cleared my beliefs in one moment. It was, I had the crystallized realization that this was a very tender, deep wound for me, but I really at that time had no idea what to do with it, actually. And that was probably 15 years ago when I was teaching yoga and meditation for a living. And one of my teachers, who I deeply respected and admired, she said, well, money's just energy. And I love her and I loved her, but I was like, when she said that, it like really threw me. I was like, okay, I don't know something. It does not feel like that to me, because I thought I knew a lot about energy. So I just want to say that it's not that simple. Oftentimes it's more complex. And so can we hold the compassionate healing space for the complexity? Can we just be with that first and just say, wow, this is hard for me. And she meant well. I know she was trying to snap me out of the story I was telling myself or whatever I was in. I was in a lot of pain around money, and I felt like I was never going to really be able to succeed at what I love to do. And she was trying to help me, but what she said was like kind of like I was disoriented. And then I also said to myself, oh, I have a lot of like work to do. I had to like go on a discovery journey. So didn't really know what that was going to be. So what I want to do is I want to show you this one quote, and I really want to start here. So let me see if I can share my screen and do this properly. This will give you a little bit of the space that we are in today. All right. Can you see this, everybody? How do I make it full screen? Oh, goodness. Can you see this at all? Can someone tell me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Wait, let me see if this will work. Cool. Yes. Okay. Full screen. Great. So as I was preparing for this class, and if you don't know the book already, this quote is from The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav, if I'm saying his name right. And this was the quote that kept rolling around in my head and in my heart. And I just couldn't let it go. And I really wanted to begin here. And it's really early on, actually, in the book that he writes about this. And the quote is, "Competition for external power is at the heart of all violence." And then he goes on to talk about how money is seen as external power. And when power is seen as external from the self, it splits the psyche. And this is what I feel is most relevant, at least for me, around money, is that this is what I hear most from people when I interview them about money and about their, creating their life. And most of my clients and the people that I speak with want to do what they love and what they feel destined to do in this life, for a living. And the money piece is always the most painful, most of the time. And I feel that it's because there's a split, and that we see money as external power outside of ourselves, somewhere else. I have to do something extraordinary or popular or nice or something to get it. I have to do something outside of my integrity to get it. I have to extend beyond my own healthy boundary to get that thing. And mind you, this is very real because we don't live in a society that is built so that everybody feels their internal power. We live in a society that is continually telling us that power is external. How many of you would agree? Raise your hand. Can I get a hell yes? Yes. Good. Okay, we've got a little hand lifting. Woo! Yeah. Okay. And some smiles. Okay, good. Yay. So and yes, I still feel this. Like, it's not that it goes away. Like, oh my gosh, I don't like, anytime you turn on the television or read the news or go on, forbid, social media, right? You're going to see that message all over everywhere. So one is, can you notice that it's affecting the way it's affecting you, or that it's affecting you, right? So let me just read the quote one more time. "Competition for external power is at the heart of all violence." And so if that's true, and we go about our business competing for external power, we cause an act of violence to ourselves. It feels that way almost. Okay, this is my proposal, my suggestion. I'm not saying it's like a 2 + 2 = 4 answer, but this is in the story of money. That it is actually, right? Like, if you go all the way back, what were people fighting for? External power. Here's the interesting part. The invitation I want to make to you is that there are a whole community of people on the planet that are working in full integrity with their heart to shift this paradigm. out of external power to internal power, to authentic power. And this is why I believe looking at and healing the money wound and reframing it for ourselves is essential. Because if it continues to split us off from our heart's work, right, the world will be at a loss from that work. Like it's really at the I see that as the cost. Like when I was first moving into supporting, mentoring, coaching women in particular who were healers, spiritual teachers, entrepreneurs, creatives, I wanted to talk about purpose. I wanted to talk about their heart and soul and their life's work. And but every time it was like the money piece, the money piece. Like we couldn't actually get, past much unless we address the existential fear around money. And this quote, I think, really holds the environment or the energetic blueprint for why I feel this is so important. So I'm just going to stop my share for a moment, if I can. Oh my gosh, this has happened to me before. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna stop my share. How do I do that? Oh, okay, it's working, good, okay. Okay, again, these slideshows make me nervous. Okay, so how does that land with everyone? I'd love to hear a little bit from you.
It resonated a lot, um, especially because like we hear all the time how competition is like it's the reason why so many of us are upset and discouraged and depressed. And like social media doesn't help, and obviously we control how we feel, but constantly being bombarded with all these messages of how these people are succeeding and you feel inadequate with your success, it's hard. And you start to think like, what's wrong with me? I feel like I'm doing a little better with that, but the thoughts still creep up, and that's what I struggle with the most.
The thoughts that creep up. Okay, great. Thank you, Angelia. Thank you for sharing. And we'll get into that for sure. Yeah. Anyone else like to add that?
That feels true. It feels true that what you're presenting as this core challenge in the world that we're living in, where there's this relationship between like external power and then the misalignment with the world of energy and what and who we are, and then how that leads to violence, and how that would then, you know, you could equate that then with the struggle with money, and how that creates an inner violence when we are attempting to, create successful businesses and manifest our gifts and share them. So yay. I love it. Thank you.
Super yay. I'm going to use your term. I love that. Super yay. Yeah, I'm glad you're seeing it with me a little bit. I guess I just wanted to really come in slow because my tendency is to go fast. And I think I'm still working it through my system. Like I read it and I was like, oh, wow, this is deep. So yeah, who else would like to contribute and share how that landed with them? Yes, Kimberly.
That totally resonated, everything that everyone said. It does make you wonder, how that contributes even more to your story, because if you don't see what you consider the good evidence of what you've created or co-created, then now you spin back into your brain computer and into your heart space, like not enough. Why isn't, what's wrong? And you're trying to focus on that instead of the creation, which brings you to that next evolution. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Mm. Diane.
Yeah, that when you read that, it sank really deep, right in the core. And I hadn't considered that buying into that is like violence to ourselves, and it is. That was profound for me to hear you say that, Andrea.
Thank you. Yeah. Gary Zukov, The Seed of the Soul. It's a great book. Could really be a nice companion at this time. Anyone else would like to share any opening thoughts before we move on? Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to my slideshow. Yay! Okay. Great. Okay, so let's see. What is money? So before we can move on, oops, just give me a moment. Okay. What did I do? Okay. Before we can move on, I think it would be important enough to ask the question, what is money? To you, what is money? And I wish we could all type into the slide show, but maybe in the chat, if you have, just whatever comes to, like, just let it come out, like stream of consciousness. What is money? Is it the, $1 bill? Like, who's seen a $1 bill lately? Or like a penny. Okay, that's money. But what else is it? Like, what is money? What is money? And maybe also in the chat, write like what comes up for you around money. I'm just I can't actually see the chat if I'm in the full slide. Okay, so, good. A ticket to freedom, something, a currency you exchange currency, a cause of stress, a societally created concept, tool of freedom, something required in exchange for services or goods. Excellent. Good. I'm going to call it a symbol. Let's see, what else is money? What else do you see as money? Necessary for our society. Something that represents value. Category of experiences, inflow and outflow. Energy. Something that keeps us divided. What is money? It's power. What is money? It's love. You could say that too, right? What else is money? Money. Something that prompts people to struggle. Creates envy. Creates separation or connection. Material gains. Great. Creates greed. Creates fear. Physical reflection of inner energetic frequency. Yep. Yeah. Great. Creates self-worth. Cool. Anything else? Creates caste systems. Money, money, money. Okay. Trying to think if there's anything else. Can anyone think of anything else we need to name? What is money? It's interesting how a lot of the comments have said, been like, it creates something, right? It has like a power to create something. Sometimes a hurdle to creation. A marker. Yep. Yeah. Money is also a boundary. Good. Okay. So anybody else have anything more they want to put in there? Okay. So I'm gonna go to the next slide. All right. So one of the things that I don't know if can everyone in the screen see my chat? Or you just see the slide? Okay, great. So one of the things that comes up over and over and over again is, when we are working on ourselves and our feelings of self-worth and belonging and, pursuing our life's work and really creating a life for ourselves that feels aligned with our heart and soul, we're going to encounter the beliefs around money, right? So there's already I hear this a lot where it's I've looked at this belief and, I've been here before and I'm so tired of it, or people will get really frustrated with the beliefs. And I want to talk a little bit about how to work with beliefs, like the questions that might be helpful to kind of slow the process down, but also talk about how to heal and integrate the process of the beliefs and shifting to a different narrative. So oftentimes a belief in and of itself is just a thought form that was learned at some point because of an external narrative, right? Or something that might have been even passed down through generations. Sometimes if you look closely enough, you could be carrying a belief that is all the way through your ancestral line and totally unconscious of it, just unaware. It's okay, but if it's there, it can be really also pain. Yes. Oh, okay. Sure. Thank you, Seda. All right.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So one of the things we want to do is we want to make some space and look at what are the beliefs that we have about money. What are they? Right? And you can do this obviously around anything. There are beliefs you have about living true to your purpose in life that may get in the way of, living fully your purpose in life. But for today's purposes, what we want to look at are the beliefs that you have about money. And so I just want to invite you to maybe even in the chat, if you want to share your beliefs about money. What are they? What are some of the ones that are closest to the surface? And like first, the first part of this is just to name what the belief is, right? Like one of the beliefs could be there's not enough money. Money doesn't grow on trees, right? You can't have too much money. I should live below my means. Yep. Or I should even live within my means. You have to work hard for money. There isn't enough. Money does, I hear this one all the time. Money doesn't grow on trees. Other beliefs about money, and just keep typing them in the chat and sharing them with the group. And once we get kind of a few out there, we're going to work with one of them. So wealth lowers spiritual focus. Interesting. It's hard to make your own money. Impossible. Some say it's the root of all evil. You can't charge for spiritual work. Really great. Yep. I don't have enough and it's hard to get. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think back to what I think, like, for when I think that poverty is a virtue. Yep. I think when I think back to that moment where my teacher said like money is just energy, I think in that moment I was like, I don't even know if I really relate to money at all. Like I felt so dissociated from money that I was like, I don't think I know what money is. That was sort of where I was at that time, like what is money? I don't know. Once poor, always poor. Is that identity or identify? Having less money means you're less valuable. Okay. Yeah. Identity. Is that right? Money is identity. Oh, money is something I can't have. If one has excess money, they should give money to those with less. Okay. So there's like a very dualistic aspect to that one, right? Where it's like some have more, others have less. So there's this like you or me, like me and them. I identify with what you said about not really knowing what money is, choosing to not consider it so much. Sure. So this is something that I've found a lot where it's like, we're not even considering money. We're just like, I'm just gonna not really look at it. Like it's way too painful. I feel icky all about it. Like it's just too painful, right? Hold on to it firmly, keep saving for a rainy day. Absolutely, yeah. Have to work hard to get it. Women are not really the ones earning it. That was definitely in my family where it was like the men were the breadwinners, even though like money was still an issue. More money, more problems. Yes, more money, more responsibility. What do I do if I have it? Too much power. Ooh, I don't know. I think if I think about money less, I can bypass accepting living in a world where it has such importance. Yes, that's great. Yes. If I think about money less, I can bypass accepting living in a world where it has such importance. Yeah. So then I'm outside of the world where it has, so I'm not important. I might as well just live in the margins. Whatever I have to give to my family. Money comes, money goes. Guilt with successor money. Say a little bit more about that, Kimberly. Oh, success, guilt. Oh, yes, yes. So even if we do experience some success with money, we get that with, so, noticing the self-sabotage, like, ooh, like this doesn't even feel good. Like, I remember that happens, definitely happens to me, like, much less, but like every single time I grow a little bit, I'm like, ooh, like I have to sit with the discomfort that I'm expanding. And I have to actually sit with the fear of like, am I in integrity with this? I have to get really clear on my why. I have to get really clear on my boundaries because I don't want to hurt anyone. So money hurts people. Money manipulates people. Money controls people. I don't want to be controlled. I want to live free. But if we don't make it about the money's still controlling, right? It's not about the money, but it is about the money. Am I getting everybody's comments? Anybody else? I'm enough to ask for that. Am I enough to ask for that much? Hard to charge with what I believe I deserve or what I want because of the poor girl's guilt. Yes. Great. Okay. All right, so as you can see, there's a lot of different narratives that kind of get pulled up as we start to ask this question. And the important part, I think, is just to remember, we're just getting curious about what's here, right? Not like looking at this and going, it's right or it's wrong, just these are beliefs that exist in the field, that exist. I don't want to exclude people from healing services by charging more than what people can afford. Yeah, really great, really great. Yes. So then we have to go into defining like what are healing services, what's charging people can afford, right? Okay. All right. So how did they form? So once we get like some of the beliefs in, all we're doing is we're kind of throwing the ingredients into the stew. We're like stirring the pot. We're heating things up. We're alchemizing this a little bit. So first we have to know what they are. Then we have to ask, where did they come from? How did they form? Right? So if you just take one that's really up for you right now and write it down on a piece of paper, and you just simply observe, where did that come from? How did it form? When was I first exposed to that belief? Who was saying it or representing it? Or, was it my mom? Was it my dad? Was it my grandfather? Like usually we can start to see that we got this information from somewhere. We weren't born with the belief about money. There was no existence of money, but somewhere along the way, we learned that something about money. And usually that's in the family of origin. And then we get a sense of whether or not money is to be trusted, right? So then we go into how do they make you feel, right? What are the feelings that arise with the messages you received about money? So for me, I grew up with when my parents split when I was 5. And my mom did not have a job, and she had 3 very young kids, 1 year old, 4 years old, and 6. I was the oldest. And I remember that when my dad left, I was terrified that my mom was now going away. And my fear was she was never going to come back. I didn't realize that she was going to work. But we had a full-time mom, and then we didn't. So this urgency, this survival mode of her needing, there was no option for her to not go to work. It was scary. So there wasn't a lot of comfort or safety with money. It was like survival, urgency, must, and then and then also being very empathic. I was obviously picking up on what my mom's fears was, is this going to be enough to raise my 3 kids? She didn't have a college degree. She worked hard, really hard, really hard. And And so there were all those messages, but I can, like, if I just go with one parent, there's like a whole, right? There's a whole narrative. And so it's not about taking it all in at once. It's can we be with each piece with compassion? Not today, of course, in the small time we have, but I'm just trying to show you that this is a deeper dive, and needs to be way more compassionate than oftentimes we give it time for. So how do the beliefs that you know about make you feel? So money, making money, a woman making her own money was urgent, survival only, and no option. Not a lot of room for expansion, growth, or creativity or joy. Right. So I just want to give you a moment there to write down one or some of what is coming up for you around this. And if you notice any patterns that are showing up. So mine, I would say the words that show up, it's like urgency, survival, no options. And also no option to do what you really love. Like my mom was a photographer. She loved photography. She was a traveler. And when she had to get a job, there were no options to do the things that she loved. So the message was, you have to work really hard, and often you're not doing what you love. So that was both my parents and all the way down my lines. And often when we go back generations, there is that heavy-handed belief that, like, working hard for the money and there are no options. It's survival only. Okay. So then the fifth question here that I put in was, what if you believed in something else? Right? What if you could hold the current belief with a great amount of compassion to be able to create the safety needed in order to hold the fear with love and move into a different position from within yourself and believe in something different? So when we're talking about shifting beliefs, if it doesn't happen, right, if it's not up here anymore, it's in the cells. And I do believe that it requires a process. So before we go there, I'm just going to come out of this and ask if there are any questions. If I can do this. Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm just going to stop my share and just see if there are any questions or comments. If that's landing. Of course, Angelia, yes.
I have a question. I have a feeling it's probably going to be discussed later, but so the thing that I struggle with is like how you said in the beginning that it is a slow process, but it's like keeping the momentum and ensuring that you don't allow the thoughts to bring you down from the past. That's like really hard. Like, how do you keep up that momentum when for so long those other beliefs is all you know? And especially, like, I'll use myself as an example. I'm the only one in my family that I know of that has ever tried to start a business. Like my mom, she does something, but like completely on her own, and that's where a lot of my fear comes from, because I don't have, like, my family supports me, but they don't have the understanding, and they don't realize a lot of the things that they say are actually hurtful, and they don't mean to, because of their own fears. So I don't even know if that was a question, but that was my comment. Because yeah.
So if I may respond to that, and I think we can work with that in the next step when we go to the healing response. But what I note, and that happened, I can relate 100%. In the beginning when you're like, I see it. Yes, this is like, I see my purpose. I know what I want to do. Or you get that excitement and then you share it with your mom or your dad. And it's like, and they just go, okay. And then what about getting a real job, et cetera, happens, right? Like that dialogue. I mean, maybe not always, but I can relate, and I think I went through something similar, Angelia. And so what is interesting in that moment is, one, I think one is remembering that something is happening within you, inviting you into a different possibility that they might have never been able to see for themselves. And considering all the context of their situation, right? And so one is this blessing of an opening that you have to see the pursuit that you have, the drive, the passion, the purpose. And when you share it with someone who is not in that space with you, you will meet the matrix of beliefs that they hold that are often very cemented within them that they don't even see. So it's difficult to communicate and have it be received in a way that is conducive to the momentum we want to carry forward. Does that make sense, or is that helpful? That's kind of the way it feels. It's like you say something and then you can feel it kind of hit their wall. And that's okay. Like that is just what it is. But then when we notice, okay, what's happening in me now? Can I be for myself? And can I, well, I have more to say about that, but it's like noticing what happens in us at that moment. And can we be with both? Can we see like, oh, okay, they may not be ready or open to fully receive what I'm sharing. And can I come back to the commitment I've made and accept, what they're going to say whatever they're going to, and that's okay. And can we be with what it's stirring up in us, what is emerging within us on a feeling level, and be with that, usually asking ourselves, okay, what is the fear arising now in me, and how can I create a safe place for that to land so that I can continue on the trajectory of my inspiration, my aspiration, and support my fears. So normally to do this on our own takes quite a lot. Like I would definitely say that having some forms of support, communities, mentor, coach, program, it doesn't matter, but being in the community of others that believe in what you believe will help that momentum carry through for sure. I think that's the biggest number one ingredient, is just knowing that you have at least one other person in your world that believes in what you believe and sees a similar trajectory, because it keeps the hope alive and it keeps the possibility open. And then it's a deeper process, but I would say in that moment, remembering that may not be what you want to share in anymore, and you're growing outside of that paradigm, which can feel a little scary, right? And a little painful, like, ooh, like if I go for what I really want, am I separating from people who really deeply care and love me? Is that helpful for now?
Yeah, thank you. That was, yeah, that pretty much answered my question.
Okay, great. Thank you for your question. It's really meaningful. Anyone else would like to share or add to the conversation? Questions? Nora?
Hello. I can relate to what you were talking about, Angelia, and I also am. What's coming up is what Tracy mentioned earlier about if I ignore that money is a big deal, then I can perhaps just keep going and not have to deal with it, or the inputs of other people or whatnot. And so I find myself kind of between the two spaces of needing to check where my money is coming from. Do I have enough? Like the practicality of it. And then I'm like, okay, I already did that. Okay, now I'm just, oh, look, it's here. La 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 la. It's inflow and outflow, and it's not a big deal. So I'm definitely, I find myself sometimes trying to ignore, to not have to go through some egoic process or through some societal thing or some familially influenced belief. I want to avoid those. I want to try to form something for myself, but there's almost no foundation for it to be formed on, because I only have a societal thing or a parental thing, or if that makes sense. And so that's what I'm working with right now, is recognizing I'm very blessed. The money has continued to flow in. But what is my belief? Like like Nora's, what is my foundation? How do I move forward now? Not completely separate from, perhaps, or maybe from societal or family. So that next step perhaps is what I'm dealing with.
Thank you. Great. I love how you put that as like societal thing, familial thing. What's my thing? Where do I stand? And a lot of it is, how we take a stand for ourselves. Yes, like that's a big part of it. And like you said, like, what is my belief? I'm not too sure right now, Yes. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. It's great. Yes, Tracy.
Where I'm at right now with this is my business has grown to a point where it's okay, right? It's okay. Like I can now earn a living, with the work that I love, with the healing work that I do. And so my challenge is, like, I am used to being able to live on, like, not that much, because I think my response to all of that, crap is really to pull away from money and to, be okay living an extremely simple life and just not buying into a lot of that power struggle, that external struggle that you talk about that separates us from ourselves.
Right.
I don't want that. I don't like that. I don't want to live that. So I just pull away. I don't need very much. And I can be extremely happy with little. The challenge is, money or no money, I want to grow my business. I want to help more people. I want to expand my work. That actually requires that I take a look at money. And so that's the dilemma that I'm in right now. Is like, yeah, I can get by on where I'm at. Like things are all right. And so I don't feel a whole lot of motivation. Money doesn't motivate me. So anyway, that's kind of a weird place to be, but that's where I'm at.
It's actually exactly where I was at when I really turned it around. It's what you just named was, okay, I know I can do what I love to earn a living. I love how you said that, earn a living. Okay, if we just take that statement for a while, earn a living. You have to earn your right to be here, right? Earn a living. But what you're feeling is the expansion of wanting to have a deeper impact. And that was the only motivation that got me to look at this. It was not the money either for me. That's actually what I see in most of my clients is The motivation is not the money. They want to help more people. They want to change the world. They want to create a better place. So it's like the need comes from wanting to help the world. Like it literally comes from the heart. It's like, I want to be of help, but how do I help when I see a system that is corrupt? When I see a system of exchange that looks harmful? And then we go, I don't want any part of that. Hands off. It's a big, right? It's a dilemma. So I hear you loud and so crystal clear, really, truly, really, truly. And that's, I think, where we come into the alignment piece and coming back into an aligned relationship with money as a vehicle for change, a vehicle for impact, being really crystal clear around those boundaries. But in order to get there, we need to do the inner work, right? Like the inner piece around like, how is this going to go? How am I going to structure this? How am I going to organize this so that my business reflects my values? And that's a tough one because the charging more, the reaching more, the expansion is always a question of, am I in integrity? Am I in integrity? How do I create that? Is that helpful so far? I love that you brought that because I just think it's so important to name. Yeah, that pulling away from money. I don't need very much. Neither do I. I really live a very simple existence and I want to help a lot. Yeah, and I want the message, like the work, to reach many in the best, most honest, clear, transparent way. So when we start to see and feel the alignment with the higher purpose and channel that through all the levels of our being, including the area of our money, which is right, the root chakra, the embodied level of existence and the way we choose to participate in the world, we have a whole nother feeling of what currency is. Yes. All right, so I'm wondering if anyone has anything to say, or can I move on to the next slide? Okay. So the healing response. So what we did previously was we looked at the beliefs, where they come from, the patterns that may be emerging, and we asked the question, you know, what would it be like if you could believe something else? And one of the ways that we start to shift the environment of our beliefs around money is through a very compassionate process. I'm just calling it the healing response for now. And I feel that it comes through five wavelengths. So the first step, right, if we really slow it down, is first we have to know what we're looking at. Like, what is usually what I try and do is I select a statement, you know, or a belief. And I just kind of hold that in my consciousness. Okay, so I believe I am not enough, you know, or whatever the belief is. And I just kind of use a focal point to then move through this process. So you can choose one of the beliefs that feels strongest for you or that you'd like to work with. And you can practice this process right now as we go through it. So the first thing, what we want to do is we want to bring our presence to whatever is showing up. And we can do this on our own, and we can also do this with another, okay? And this is literally the process I go through with my clients. First, we have to get present with what is happening. Not even just the belief, but like, what is the context? What is happening? Just bring our presence. What is going on? And what is happening? What is happening that is creating or kicking up this belief and this inner response? And once we have our presence, and once we can be present with that, whatever's going on, right? Because a lot of times when someone shows up in this question, it's like, oh my gosh, I just, they can't, it's very chaotic. And it's also, there's a lot of separation from the self. It's very upset. And so we have all this like separation going on. So the first thing we need to ground and be present and go, okay, we can be with this. Let's be with this. And then the second step is bringing our understanding to what it is that is creating this feeling of separateness or conflict or fear or violence, right? I can't do this, or whatever it is, but just understanding the mind and also what's happening in the mind and how it's impacting the body. 3, we need patience. Like a lot of times, right? It'll be like, why can't I just get out of this already? And so that doesn't, and I giggle because I see Diane's giggling a little bit too. It's like, we siphon off the spaciousness that we are and we go into fixing it mode. But before we can shift, we actually need to cultivate patience for the parts that feel really tender. And I am slowing this down on purpose. I know in real time, if this is kicking up for you in a conversation with someone, you might not be able to take a break and do this. This is what we need to do outside of our healing sessions and outside of our clients. We need to do this for ourselves more than we think, So I know I had to do this a whole lot. I had to sit with my existential fear for a long time, for a while, as I was shifting, because it was just so scary. I had worked in the same way for it was like at least like 13, 14 years of just the same survival mode, so to shift that, definitely I had to sit. I had to slow it down. And I don't like slowing down. I move really fast in a lot of ways. So patience, having patience for the parts in us that hurt. And then being able to cultivate compassion for ourselves. I really don't believe anymore that we can expand with integrity and in alignment if we do not have compassion for ourselves. What good is it if we are trying so hard and beating ourselves up just to do more good in the world? Right? And I have it too. It's like, damn it, I didn't do that right, or whatever, and come away as like, and the compassion, I think, is the self-compassion is the single most important ingredient, I would say, for right now. I remember many years ago, the same teacher that told me money was energy, she gave me the homework assignment. She said, I do not want you to learn anything new until you learn self-compassion, until you come back to me and you share and you tell me that you've had a glimpse of what that feels like. It was a really hard homework assignment. And you really laid it down for me. So once we have a glimpse, I'm not saying total makeover, I'm just saying a glimpse of self-compassion, that we are really doing this from our heart. And we are structuring our lives, our time, our energy our intention in a way that is conscious, that is with positive intent, we can come back into connection with ourselves and also the boundaries we have around money, time, energy, giving and receiving. So that coming back into connection brings us to the place where we can actually cultivate a relationship with money that's integrated instead of dissociative and fear-based. And these 5 steps, I believe, are what I'm presenting, at least right now in this moment, I believe are the steps of integration, right? Like being able to bring our presence, understanding what's happening, cultivating our patience to be with the places that hurt, right? Cultivating self-compassion, feeling compassion for ourselves, having compassion for ourselves, coming back into connection with positive intent. Okay, so I'm just going to pause here and see if there are any questions or comments at this moment with what we've shared. And if you want to go through that process together, somehow we could maybe work with that. I don't know if what's arising in the group. If you have a live situation. Yes. Yes.
I just wanted to say, like, when I mentioned earlier, I guess the fear with my family, instantly with what you said, the word compassion came up, me realizing like I need to have more compassion for them, because they're just coming from fear and they're wanting to protect me. And I know that, and more compassion for myself. So yeah, I just wanted to state that, but I realized that after what you had said.
Great. Great. How's that changing your perspective on the situation?
It's making me realize I really need to sit with myself about this. Because like everybody mentioned, it's something that I think all of us tend to ignore. And so it's something that I've been kind of ignoring. I've been like kind of pushing myself and wanting to be creative, and like just last night I was just like having even to tell myself through that process, because I took a bit of a break, and I'm just restarting after a little break and having a lot going on. I need to be more compassionate, but I guess because in the patriarchal society that we live in, the mindset is constantly like, I need to do more, I need to do more. And instead of taking that break and to check in with myself and understand why I feel the need to do more, where that fear is coming from. So that's what I've been realizing.
And thank you for saying that, because it brings up, just I want to respond and say that yes, we do need to organize, align, intend, and take action. Like, I'm not saying that this is like the only thing is the inner peace. It's not. Okay, definitely, like, it's such a good reminder for me that you just shared that, because it's like we are focusing more on the inner peace. But that does inform how we take action and how we feel when we are in sessions with others. So most of you are looking to build and expand your business in relationship to, right? What is a business but many relationships? And this, I think, is like the harder part, right? It's like, okay, well, now that I know what I want and I know my inner stance, how do I bring it out, and how do I actually build a sustainable business model, right, with real people where this is also going to come up? That's definitely, yeah. I didn't see it. Melinda, did you want to share?
I was sneezing. I'm sorry. I
Oh,
do want to share actually. So maybe that was meant to be because
bless it. I was like, oh, where's the comment? Looks like a good one.
right. No, I was just sneezing. Thanks, Angelia. I don't want to cut off the conversation.
Okay, you didn't want to add anything at this time.
I do, I think, but yeah, I do. I didn't want to cut off what you were saying though.
I guess I just wanted to respond to Angelia where she's like, wow, I really need to sit with this. And I was like, yes, yes. And there is that the feeling of I need to do more is right. There is something in that. But then my question to you is like, okay, how can we organize the things that you feel you need to do in a way that's more efficient and self-honoring and effective and clear so that we turn down the volume of overwhelm and we stabilize, because when we go out in the world it's chaotic, right? So there are ways of working that need to happen. I will actually say it, need to happen for us to honor what we need and to like, how can I say this? There are ways of working in our business that are actually harmful to us. And so the needing to do more is like, that's also a level of like, okay, what do you feel like you need to do more of? Where do you want to be by when, right? So there's a little bit of a strategy piece. I want to get to that later on in the call, but yeah, I really hear that because I hear that from a lot of, well, pretty much everyone, like, oh my God, I need to be on Instagram every day and sharing my blah, blah, blah. And it's like, actually, I've heard from people who know way more about marketing than me, and they're like, 3 times a week is fine. And you don't need to be on there at all. You just need to like share your message and get off. Doop. Goodbye. Like I can and focus on your well-being. So I'd be interested just to like, if maybe you have something you want to work, if you have a question about like how to do, that would be welcome. I want to try and make some space for some strategy too. Because it is also, we want to make this practical, right? And effective. Same for you, Tracy. Like you want to, right? What's the next level? Where do you want it, right? And how can we do that in the most self-honoring, loving way that is also effective, but doesn't blow the circuitry, right? I mean, sometimes our circuitry blows, but you know, speaking from experience, but we want to minimize that as much as we can. Okay, so any other comments or questions? So my idea at this time would be to invite you into a breakout with another person who's here today and go through the 5 steps of the healing response to a part, I guess to the part of the money wound that you're willing to kind of work with today. And really just supporting one another. It's just being with that person and helping each other go through the steps, right? So step number 1 is bringing your presence to what is happening. Whatever is happening, whatever the focus is, whatever you choose. And then 2 is understanding maybe the beliefs that are coming up, and maybe choosing one that would probably be easiest, like 1, understanding the belief, this is really coming up, I want this, and this belief comes up. 3 is, what would patience look like here? And can you bring compassion to yourself or feel compassion for yourself And then 5 is what would coming back into connection with your heart feel like around this issue? Is everybody up for that? Just to get a little practice. And so I'm gonna give you 7 minutes each. And all you want to do with your partner is just hold the space with them. You don't have to do anything. Don't just say anything. Just let them go through the steps. And then I'll send you a message when 7 minutes is up, and then you'll switch. Okay? All right, great. All right, so give me a moment. Hold on. Great. Okay, so I will see you in 14 minutes. Oh, I was muted, I guess. How did it go? Welcome
Great.
home.
You made great connection. Thank you for putting us together. It was meant to be, Kimberly and I.
Definitely. Yay.
Intuitives are awesome.
Yes.
How'd it go? I love when like I feel very lucky that when people come back from breakouts, everyone's smiling. So okay, like let's keep that going. That's pretty cool. And even if you weren't smiling and you were crying instead, it's okay. We would be with that. Would anyone like to share? What did you learn? What did you see differently?
I was reminded, I was sharing with Kimberly that I live in a very small town, and there are a few people who have maybe a similar approach to life that I do, but I mean, we're all unique, but I really appreciate coming together, having internet to be able to come together with people who share, in wanting to explore this topic and wanting to go deeper and wanting to really do the work. And so I just am so grateful for that. And Kimberly and I have shared some things that were personal, that were just, it was meant to be that we talked, because I needed to be reminded of some things. And so I guess, again, I'm just so grateful for the reminder, like, there are more of us out there than we think. that kind of reminder that gets, I probably get that message every day, and I don't pay attention to that. It's like, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big takeaway, even if it doesn't solve the money wound, I am not alone. So thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a big part of it. Not feeling alone.
I'll add on to that, to what you shared, Nora. And this isn't what I thought I was going to share, but now it's just coming up as a reflection based on talking to Diane and
my own issues with money right now. That like we hearing you say that, you know, there are people here, there's more people doing this, and then talking to Diane, who there was like some questions around charging for a group with her friend. Is this okay if I share this, Diane? Okay, thank you. Gonna generalize, but yeah, like running a class for spiritual friends of hers or people she knows that are used to paying one thing when she wants to charge more money for it. And my own struggles with like feeling very disappointed and having conversations with women who are really surprised when I get to the investment piece of working with me for these longer committed offerings. And it just something that just made like just kind of came through my head was like, of course they're surprised because this is relatively new, you know, and like they really don't know. And like a couple years ago, like I would have been really surprised as well. Like, oh, it costs that much. Like I had no idea. So like part of that is like they just don't really know. And they've maybe never invested that much money in themselves before. And, you know, I do that kind of like regularly now, which is scary. And I'm sure like everyone here does that too. But I do believe in it. Like I do believe in shifting the systems, right? So we have to shift systems by like doing it on an individual level. So that inspires me to be like, I really want to hold these prices because otherwise, you know, like I'm becoming more aware of how much energy I have to go around. And if I feel drained, I'm just like back to where I started. And I'm still just like, just getting by or not really getting by, which something I've become more like vocal about is like, I really admire people who live really simply. And I do want to live like simple too, but I actually want to make a lot of money because I like nice things. And like these earrings cost money and they support like a beautiful indigenous tribe who's making their craft, you know, and making money doing it because someone was the bridge to that. And those are the people I want to buy from. And it actually makes me feel really sad that when I have to be like, I have to go get that item at like Walmart or Target because I can't afford to spend money right now. So I really can't afford, you know, to buy it from like someone who would have a more quality version, let's say. So I don't know, that's just like coming through on like, I'm trying to really motivate myself to keep going and have compassion for myself, but also like remember the bigger picture. It's like, if I, you know, it's hard to kind of commit on an individual level. And it's hard when people don't really, like, I think Diane, you mentioned something about like, yeah, we should be able to make, you know, like doctors and lawyers make a lot of money. Why not us? Like, I mean, I know I've invested money, like, yeah, if we're investing money, it's not like, I know there's people out there who are just like offering things and like just saying, I'm this guru, I'm this, you know, master teacher, whatever. Like there's a lot of that. And there's also a lot of like people like us who, you know, are coming from like a really like putting in the effort place. And still struggling with it. And like, that's frustrating to me, but I don't know. I guess I have hope. That's my rant. It's better. I have to laugh because like I was crying earlier. So I'm like, I have to laugh. For listening. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Mhm. I have hope. Yes. Yes. Me too. Yeah, yeah. Beautiful. I think one thing that when you were sharing, Melinda, I thought of, I was like, of course you want a beautiful life. Right? Yeah, how wonderful would it be if we could all invest in the artists and communities and small businesses and organizations that support a healthier planet on all levels? That we could have, like when I just hired someone this month, And it was a big investment. It was like the most risky, like the biggest leap that I've taken in a while in hiring, like trusting someone with my work, you know, like to help me. So I do everything by I'm a one person show for so long. I'm trying to shift that a little bit so I can grow and take care of myself. And huge investment on lots of levels. And I'm so happy because I get to support someone who is just as fired up and heart-centered as I am. And she's like way beyond, she's Leo. And she's just like, wow, wow, wow. And I'm like, whoa, okay, you know, and but I get to hire her. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? Like there's a very particular reason why I want to up level. It's all in my heart. And it's hard to, the challenge is honoring that every step of the way and remembering the truth of that and being able to hold myself through the fear that what others might say or believe or see or think or operate is different. I hope that's helpful. And I see it in everyone around me, like all the women showing up. It's amazing. It's like, oh, whoa, fierce, whoa. Like it's expansive. It's real. That's why coming together, like Nora said, I don't feel as alone, is so powerful and so empowering and supportive. And being able to say whatever we need to say to feel fully present with it. Who else would like to? I love that. I have hope. We landed on that. Anyone else like to share? Kimberly, did you have your, oh, Diane, okay, we'll see you. Thank you. Do you want, okay.
I did. It's been hitting me like since we started talking. So it's backing up, but it's together with everything else. So the connection between what you would say, practicing beauty, and noticing that that beauty is also within. So that energetic exchange, where is that disconnect? Where is, you know, that Jedi moment that we gather from that point to connect so that we can reflect and be okay to buy those earrings or you know, to support that, I don't know, people with college fund or scholarship or something. You know, this is necessary. And yet we stutter, you know, we don't want to be seen or whatever the story is. So what's the practice, Andrea?
Yeah, good. Okay, so I think what you're, and I just want to be honoring of time. I want to go to the next slide. I have 2 more to get to. So I understand if you have to hop off right at 3. If I hadn't mentioned, so part of it is, like, I would say the single most important ingredient is having the right kind of support consistently. Like I have a whole team of people that support me. Like I've got a lot of support and I've always had a lot of support. I've always invested in my own healing. So I would say, if I'm going to say one thing, it's not even like, it's the right kind of support for you at that time, right? Like it's like, you know how we cycle through different teachers, healers, practitioners, because we're growing. So we need the next thing. So the key is feeling like this is the right next thing for where I want to go is really important, knowing that. Because there's a lot of flash out there, like, you know, like people offering all this stuff out there. And I would say that the most important thing is you feel and trust that like, okay, this is the right thing that's going to get me to where I want to be. In order for that to happen, you have to have a lot of clarity. And I feel a lot of transparency with the person, right? That you're going to be, hiring to support you or whatever. So I believe like the depth of the container makes a difference as well. That you really do, but it's really an assessment. But I would say the single most important ingredient to lasting change is having the right kind of support. And the only way that you will, right, or I shouldn't say the only way, but one of the most effective ways to finding the right kind of support is by like interviewing people, like trying out those consultations. I'm going to be offering you a vision call so we can get down to business with what your particular area of struggle is. Like I do that all the time to not say, okay, you need to work with me. It's like, I'm assessing, are we ready? Is this a right relationship to act upon? But I would say that having the right kind of support is the number one ingredient, because the person who supported me through this, I was in terror. I was on the phone with her. I was like, I know I need this and I am terrified. And she knew it and she could hold that. And that was what I needed at the time. Not everybody was the person that could hold that, but that was what happened. So I would say if I'm going to narrow it down to one single point, it's really the support. And I believe that consistent support is really going to make the difference, especially if you're stretching in your business model and your pricing and your creative vision for the work you want to do in the world. It does take a deeper level of commitment than just like a one-off, session. That's why I stopped doing single sessions, because I realized like that it wasn't actually helping with the kind of work I wanted to do. That's a whole nother talk. So I want to go to a little bit the strategy of how to start to move from a new belief, right? So one is working with the old beliefs, and then it's about, well, what's the new belief, right? What is the new belief, or what is the new way I want to be living in? So these are the three most important ingredients that I would say support that. So one is having a clear intention for where you want to be, right? So the energy of intention is the energy that's going to hold the direction you are going in. And once we have a clear intention, we can start to make the movements within to align with that intention. So the next step is being able to align with the intention you have for your work in the world, your creative purpose, your spiritual purpose, your material needs and wants, all of that. Having a clear, so the next step would be structure of organizing all of that. So oftentimes what comes in the way of intention and alignment is just the demand of our everyday, busy lives that kind of, shake the mandala, the sand mandala, like all over the place, and we lose our structure. And so structure is really important. But if we try to put structure before intention and alignment, we're building a structure that is not in alignment with what it is that is truly self-honoring. Then the fourth step would be support, right? Like knowing you have support, like this group, right? Like Nora said, just being with all of you and knowing I'm not alone was a form of support. And that keeps us in connection with what's inspiring us and what's motivating us to take the next step. Like Angelia, you were saying, how do I keep with the momentum? And it really, I feel one of the most important ingredients to keep that momentum going is that you're surrounding yourself with support, people who believe in what you believe, who can see the possibilities that you want for you, and that also help you continue to see, feel, and believe them, right? And continue to act in alignment with that intention. And then when you have intention, alignment, structure, support, right, they're always cycling. It's not like you hit one and then you leave it. You have to also track how it's shifting as you change, as you evolve, right? Because every day is different. So how do I need to upgrade my structure? How do I need to upgrade my support system? How do I need to redefine my intention? That's why I offer the vision call, because like maybe what, I might have talked to you a year ago or whatever, and now you're here, it's like totally different world. So, those interviews that you have with practitioners, make use of them. Like really go after what you want. And if you're not sure where to begin, look online, do a little bit of research and see who's out there that's doing something like what you want to do, and talk to them, reach out to them. Oftentimes, if they're going to be the right kind of support, they have some form of a consult that you can take advantage of to really get down into the nitty gritty of like, what is going on? Like, what can I not see? And then with that support, you can take action in a way that feels supported, that feels, oh, I'm not just needing to do more, I know exactly what I need to do next. Right? Like Angelia, when you said like, I need to do more, that's that like, oh my gosh, I need to do more. And then, yes, okay, we can be with all of that, but then what's the next most important step for you, which is totally unique to what you want to create for your life, for your work, for your clients, for your business, for your money, all of that, right? And have it be aligned with your intention. And then 6, I put 6 here because I wanted to remind all of us that surrender is a big part of experiencing success. However you define success, I guess if I were to define success, I would probably say that it equates somewhere near joy, really having a beautiful life and experiencing utmost joy. But after all of the, and I'm giggling because this is probably the hardest part, where we do it, intention, alignment, structure, support, action, yeah. And then we hold on, and we go, is it working? Is it right? And so the surrender is really the place where we begin to practice trusting that what we're cultivating is growing, is working, is what it is, and we follow in that. And I know it's scary. That's why we need support and structure. And that's why we also want that compassion. The surrender, I think, is really where we begin to create in a way that is exponential, in a way that is in alignment with life itself, that is really where we really bow to the altar of our own heart, and we trust in the deep wisdom that we're here to bring. And we ask, please show me, please continue to guide me. We really act with more reverence. And with that reverence comes greater meaning and purpose in our everyday. I think it's a really important part of the practice. So I had one more slide. I'll just share this with you. Scarcity versus abundance. And I know there's a lot of talk about these, so this could be a whole nother class. But for right now, what I wanted to say was, between scarcity and abundance is a belief. And usually it's a tender one. And it's one we can work with once we've named it, and once we've come into connection with it. It's coming up for healing, whatever that is, whatever the gap is. It's also similar to the beliefs that arise when we feel disconnection versus connection. And we feel separate from the thing we long for, separate from someone we love, right? Or fear that we'll be separated. So the shift begins when we can trust, see, feel, and believe that we are not separate from any part of the whole. That includes money. If we were to define money as a flow of energy of exchange for value that is understood and clear and in integrity with what you want to create, right? But that we are part of the whole, that we are not separate from what we need. And when that arises, that's what's coming up for healing. So the word I thought of here was abracadabra, which is what I speak, I create. What we are telling ourselves matters. That inner dialogue matters. And whatever wound appears is coming up for healing. Whatever it is, it's coming up for healing. And there is a way. There is a way through. So that's what I have for you today. I'm so glad that all of you were here. Thank you for making this class a lively one and enriching it with your presence. I know everyone who receives the recording will benefit from your generosity and heart. And I look forward to connecting with you. I may do another class like this again. I'm not sure. If you have questions that we didn't get to today, you can always email. There'll be emails sent out to all of you with the recording and an invitation to a vision call where we can go over, it's a complimentary, free, no obligation, no strings attached call where you and I can sit down and get really clear, like what's going on, what's coming up, how can we look at what the right kind of support for you would be? And really, what are your next steps? What's the strategy you're seeking? What's the structure and support that you're seeking? What's happening? So really get down into the nitty-gritty of it and hopefully create a compassionate space around all of that for you. I'm going to just stop my share, my slideshow for today. So any last words of wisdom that you would like to share, questions, comments, takeaways from today?
Hi. So I wanted to share this earlier, but I guess it's best at the end. What I realized throughout this whole conversation and then in the little separate meeting is I hate saying it, but it's the truth. The lack of compassion we have for ourselves, we give it so much to other people, and that was kind of the conversation that me and Tracy had, that we can see in each other the beauty of our gifts and our services and what we have to offer, but we lack that compassion and belief in ourselves. And I realized with myself the story of my past and my upbringing, because you know what you mentioned, Andrea, resonated a lot. I had a very similar story, being the oldest of four, and this need to be perfect and perform and always do. It's still always in the back of my mind. And now that I have to rely on me, I'm not giving myself that compassion that I gave so easily to my family. And when you mentioned the fear, my thought was to have compassion for them first before myself. And it's so crazy because when I was explaining to Tracy what I do, I help people. The foundation of my work is ancestry healing, and especially people understanding their lineage and people of color, and you know, unfortunately how we have this like black mindset because many of us had to grow up in struggle and strife and in poor communities. And I realized with everything, with this conversation, like this is the core of what I do and why I do it. Like, of course I should ask for more. My ancestors, my guides, they did not suffer and give me the wisdom that I have now, and for me not to have more. that is the whole purpose of me doing all of this. And I feel like the moment that I switch that, that's when I'm gonna get it. But I know it's gonna be a little of a long process, as with most really deep woundings. But I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this community. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. All right, well, if no one else would like to share, I just want to say thank you for supporting each other in the breakouts. It's really great. It's so wonderful. And I just appreciate you all being here. Thank you. Thank you. And I look forward to connecting again and hope you enjoyed today. All right. Mwah. Have a great day. Mwah.